fuck your fucking options. Fuck your fucking zero DTE calls. Fuck the economy. Fuck inflation. Fuck your soft landing. I am sick of this shit. Fuck Wall Street. Fuck you all. I'm fucking out.
Welcome everybody to the Daily Recap Show where we talk about stocks and the financial markets. My name is Chase. If you like this video, please subscribe, hit that notification bell as well as the like button and leave a comment for the algorithm. Let's get into it. This is the daily heat map of the S&P 500 and US stocks fell on Thursday as Wall Street assessed an unexpected decline in jobless claims and a sharp upgrade in GDP growth, complicating the calculus for interest rate cuts amid uncertainty about Federal Reserve unity on policy. And there's a very famous quote that says, if you get good news and stocks go down, that is normally the top. If you get bad news and stocks go up, that is your opportunity to buy. And that's actually what we saw today. We got some very good economic data. We'll talk about it a little later on. And we saw very muted reaction from stocks. The only stocks that were moving today were names that had quite a bit of news behind them. Stuff like Apple, stuff like Nvidia, and some of the energy names with regards to some of the geopolitical concerns we are seeing with Trump, Russia, the Ukraine war, etc. Other than that, today was a complete liquidation in the market. Excluding energy, every single sector fell. The S&P 500 down 0.52%, and essentially the market just pulling money out of stocks, out of equities, out of risk assets, and simply just holding cash. Now, it wasn't just like a complete bloodbath in the market. The S&P 500 was only down 0.52%, but to see every single sector fall and gold up 0.65% really tells you that the market was rotating into safe havens, and that being gold and the dollar, and risk assets were just getting sold. Cryptocurrency got sold as well, and really just an ugly day for market participants just positioned in risk assets. We saw the same in mid caps, small caps, large caps. All of it was down in a very, very big way. Value, core, and growth particularly took it on the chin. We saw some very mild outperformance, relatively speaking, in large cap value, but it was still red through and through. And all of this selling came on the back of what was just fantastic economic data, superb economic data. Guys, look at this. Durable goods orders, right? 2.9% versus negative 0.5%, the consensus. Second quarter GDP growth, this is the final revision, 3.8% right here versus the consensus estimate of 3.3%. Absolutely insane. This is such a good number, all things considered, right? Existing home sales came in at 4 million versus 3.96 million. And then initial jobless claims came in at 218,000 versus 235,000, the consensus. We absolutely smashed the economic growth metrics versus the consensus in today's data. And the market simply is looking at this as a bad thing, saying, hey, if we get this strong economic data and if this continues, we're not going to get the rate cuts we need to justify stock market valuations. And there's also been a growing divide in the Fed. The rate debate inside the Federal Reserve is intensifying as policymakers go public with their views about the path ahead for monetary policy. On Thursday, Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee and Kansas City Fed President Jeff Schmidt both expressed discomfort with aggressively cutting rates further due to concerns about inflation. At the same time, new Fed Governor Stephen Moran continued with his public campaign to push more rapid cuts. He argued in a Bloomberg interview that the current level of 4% to 4.25% is highly restrictive and poses risks to the US economy. And the markets are also getting a bit uneasy with this divide that's happening now internally in the Fed. It's not just Trump attacking the Fed, it's the Fed members disagreeing with each other. And the market's getting a bit jittery on the back of that, despite what is exceptional economic data. In other news that I thought somewhat moved the market, day trading is about to become a whole lot easier. The 25K padded day trading rule is to be abolished per FINRA. I always thought this rule was kind of dumb. We'll see if the Financial Industry and Regulatory Authority goes ahead and approves this amendment. I think it will, but very interesting to see the continued deregulation in this market. And then looking at some market movers, Tesla's stock was down nearly 4% after the company's EV sales declined in Europe for the 8th straight month. According to the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, the ACEA, Tesla's EV registrations, a proxy for sales in Europe, fell to just 14,831 units in August, a 22.5% drop compared to a year ago. Another market mover was Apple, which was up 1.31%, holding the mega caps together after there was news that Intel came to Apple for a possible investment. Intel was up in a much bigger way, but also great iPhone 17 data helped Apple's stock move significantly higher today. And then Oracle was down 5.17% after Alex Heisel, an analyst with investing firm Rothschild & Co., initiated coverage on the stock with a sell rating. Oracle, in the last couple of days, also announced a $15 billion debt offering to fund its AI infrastructure build-out, and the market not really liking that at all. However, you do have to understand that, on its earnings, Oracle was up like 45% from that move. So a little bit of a give back as well. And then CoreWeave was down 2.84% today. However, you could see that it was actually very, very positive here early on after announcing a fresh $6.5 billion deal with OpenAI, adding to an already multi-billion-dollar set of agreements with the ChatGPT maker. And then for everything we saw today, there was only 1,700 advances, 4,500 decliners. We saw net inflows in the New York Stock Exchange, outflows in the Nasdaq 100, the S&P 500 down here today. And we continue to hold some key momentum levels. We're still holding the 50, 100, 150, and 200 day, but we've lost the 5-day and 20-day. And this is not the type of momentum we want to see. If we start losing the 50-day, the dominoes fall very, very quickly after that. So guys, looking at the charts right now, you can see right here, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, and stocks as a whole are down in a very big way. Selling led by small caps, mid caps, and you can see the growth and value down, but growth underperforming value ever so slightly. But again, when it comes to size, definitely seeing outperformance here in the large size segment. Again, not crazy selling. And if you actually just look at the S&P 500, right, we've had many up weeks in a row. It does look like we're going to be put in our first red week in a very, very long time, in probably like a month or so. However, we still have a couple more days of trading left here for today. Now, the reason why the market doesn't seem that red, but it seems like people are going crazy on Twitter, has to do with the fact that cryptocurrency, right, is down like 5.5%, 3% respectively. This is really your risk sensitive basket. And many people say crypto actually leads stocks to a degree. So to see this, I guess, sell off here in cryptocurrency and losing some of these key levels, that is a little bit of a concern for the market as a whole, as well as the 2-year and 10-year yield gaining, the dollar gaining as well, and volatility ticking up. And again, the reason why we saw yields and the dollar move the way it did has to do with just that strong economic data. I can't stress how strong the economic data was today. That was some like really solid stuff, and the market just unsure what to do with that. TLT was pretty much flat today, and then gold and silver, but silver outperforming significantly, was up 0.63 and 2.91% respectively. Internationally, we also had a very mixed day. We saw some gainers, we saw some losers. Now, looking at the S&P 500, now guys, I've been saying this for a while. September's gonna be rough. We do know that the back end of September tends to be, we tend to see a little bit of weakness, and on the weekly chart, things just look really good. I mean, you can't fault this market. The weekly chart looks really strong. We made new all-time weekly highs last week. We made intra-week new all-time highs this week. This is not bearish, guys. Every single dip we get between now and September into October, it's a buying opportunity. Now, we did see a little bit of the bulls come in today. I mean, look at this candle, right? Look at this wick right here. The bulls are definitely buying at these lows right here. The bulls are definitely stepping into this market, and that's normally what we want to do. We said that every 5% pullback, you sort of want to add exposure to your portfolio. Now, while we're not down at the 5% level just yet, bulls are starting to get a little bit active right here. The first time we'll have a 5% down day in this market, it's probably when we reach, this level right here, the 63.42. That's when you can start adding to your portfolio if we do get there. But guys, any pullbacks we do get in this market, this is a dip buying opportunity, because we will go higher, and we got great economic data right now. We know factually that rate cuts are on the table. We will be getting rate cuts through 2025, 2026. All we're arguing is when those rate cuts are going to happen. That's what the Fed is going to be doing, and potentially how many rate cuts. Are we going to get 2 more cuts? Are we going to get 3 more cuts? Where's the neutral level right now? That's what the market is arguing. But with strong economic data, the Fed is cutting, and this AI capex builder is sort of like a private sector stimulus package injecting hundreds of billions of dollars throughout the market, particularly into the S&P 500 companies with regards to energy, utilities, this infrastructure build out, material manufacturers, those names. They're all building out their earnings afloat, and you don't really want to get in front of the mega cap train. That's exactly what we're seeing right now. So any dips we do get, especially if we pull back here to the 6,300 area, it's a dip buying opportunity. The same is true for the Nasdaq 100. If we get a pullback sort of to this 23,000 level, buy those dips because we will be going higher into the end of the year and into 2026. I think what we're going to see is somewhat of a garden variety pullback here into the end of September, into the early parts of October, and then we can go higher, onward and upward from there. Now let's quickly look at cryptocurrency. Now Bitcoin is not acting well. It's at this very, very key level. The bulls need to step in right here, hold support. Otherwise, if we start drifting lower, we can start cashing in these lower levels at the 102 level. So if you're a bull, right, this is probably where you want to step in, where you want to defend. And the same is true with Ethereum. We are at this very key and critical 4,000 level. If this 4,000 level breaks, I think we see 3,400 very, very quickly. Look for a weekly close, guys. We want the Friday session close. If we close below this level right here, I think that probably means we see a little bit more weakness into Ethereum. We saw BMNR with Ethereum Treasury. It was actually down in a very, very significant way today, down 5%. And you can see really down from these highs, falling over the last 3 days. In fact, if we just take a measured move, if we zoom in here, we take a measured move from peak to trough, right? BMNR is down 26%. So this is a very, very volatile asset. But if you are bullish on Ethereum, this is one way to play Ethereum and one way to consistently grow your earnings, your Ethereum held per share. Another name that I do like in this market is Lemonade. I really, really do like Lemonade. And I think this is a great place to buy. I think sort of around that like $50 mark is great. I do think this is a $100 stock in the making very, very soon. And if you want exposure to the mega caps, I think a mega cap that's worth looking at right now is Google. I think if we're going to get a significant pullback to Google, especially sort of to this 226 area, this is a great place to buy because a lot of the litigation risk is behind us. People now see Google as an AI winner. And if we get a pullback in Google, potentially even to fill this gap here at the $200 area, we want to go ahead and buy that dip because Google could see $300, especially if earnings accelerate in 2026, 27, and 2028. And ultimately, guys, if we do get the rate cuts that the market is pricing in right now, and there's another 3 cuts over the next 4 Fed meetings, you're going to see outperformance here in the Russell 2000. We just hit an all-time high, and I do think any pullbacks or any dips here in the Russell and the RSP, right, you want to go ahead and buy those dips. I'm bullish on pretty much all risk assets, crypto as well, specifically the large caps and those high beta names I just gave you before. You guys know that when it came to NBIS, we were very, very strong buyers at the $30 region. Here for NBIS, look at where we are right now, well above 100 after consistently gapping up and going. If you guys want another infrastructure data center stock that I think has immense upside potential, it's already run a lot this year. One of them is IREN, IREN, Iris Energy. Another one is actually ICFR, Cipher Mining, right? Now, this stock was actually down significantly today, down 14%, right? And I think this would probably hit the $10 mark somewhere around here. This would be a great place to buy. So if you're looking to get some cash secure puts in on the market, this is a name. $10 cash secured puts trading at very, very heavy premiums. And you want to hold this name. These aren't very big companies at all. You're looking at a market cap of 4 billion, right? And these companies are 5, 6, 7xing their revenue over the next 12 to 18 months. And that's why it absolutely shot up. But you do have to be prepared for volatility and keep these position sizes in your portfolio fairly low. Otherwise, you're going to experience a ton of volatility. But all in all, guys, bring the sell-off. I want to see lower prices in the market because I will be buying the dip religiously and frantically if we get those dips. We want prices to be lower. It's also healthy for the markets to go ahead and do that. Diving into sentiment, this is the AAII sentiment survey. And guys, we didn't see a massive change last week. Bullish sentiment stayed the same. We did see a mild tick down in bearish sentiment. This is largely because of rate cuts and just some of the momentum dynamics we've been seeing in the market. And generally speaking, when you see a dynamic like this, where we see, momentum shift quite bullishly, and we also see a movement down in bearish momentum, often signs that probably means the rally does have legs, but it often can be an indicator that we do need to get a little bit cautious here in the market. And when we look at the seasonality of September, historically, late September is kind of weak. September tends to be fairly flat up until about day 19, day 20. We actually put in a high and then we actually make our way lower. And that's kind of the price action we've seen in the last couple of days, and do expect this into the last few days of September. However, when we look long term, we do want to remain constructively bullish, because once we've had a 5-month win streak, and it does look like we probably will put a winning month in September, the returns looking ahead over the next year tend to be double digits: 12.6 average return, 11.4% median return, 93% of the time we are higher. So guys, any dip we do get here in September, buy the dip, because history says we will move higher 6 and 12 months down the line. However, we do need to be aware of the risks, and there really isn't much. Risk sentiment is actually kind of neutral, and this does allow for the rally to broaden. So when we're looking at this, you may actually get outperformance in the broad market, the equal weighted S&P 500, but it's all going to be dependent on the macro. And right now, Nomura projects 2 further rate cuts this year, followed by 3 more in March, June, and September of next year, bringing the terminal rate to 2.875%. Can you believe that, right? I mean, if this is the case, you may even see a mortgage rate that's at about 4.8%. This will spur on the housing market very, very strongly. And Nomura and Goldman says that if we do get that rate cuts, 3 rate cuts and a terminal rate of roughly 3%, you could actually see net job gains skyrocket into 2026, and will shrug off any economic weakness. And then you have strong GDP growth with a strong labor market and low rates. That is where bull markets are born. Now, looking at data tomorrow, Friday, the last day of the week, we are rounding it out. We get inflation data, we get PCE data year over year, month over month, and we also get personal income data. The number we're looking for on a consensus basis year over year is 2.7% and 0.3% on a month over month basis. Personal spending of 0.5, personal income of 0.3. We also have the Michigan consumer sentiment. There's nothing with regards to earnings, guys, but if you've made it up until here, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, as well as the like button, and leave a comment for the algorithm. Cheers.